Athens, Ohio cancels its annual Halloween block party for the second year in a row. Ohio University has increased efforts to prohibit student hazing. And in sports, the Ohio soccer team looks to build on their hot start as they continue MAC play. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. I'm Curtis Fader. The city of Athens announced on Monday that the Halloween block party is no longer happening. The city claims that due to COVID-19 Delta variant and rising case numbers that the event could not go on. Court Street will remain open to traffic and no activities through the city are scheduled. The event planner Brandon Thompson said the elements of the event in the current situation made it unsafe to have the party.
You know, it's safety. You know, when we want people are like, oh, well, it's outdoors. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, it is, but people are still together, you know, and so, and I know there's football games going on, there's different events, you know, and, you know, you're on the street, people are just doing whatever they're going to do, you know, and so having all this, you know, a lot of the people who are going to be young college students and stuff like that, they work in a lot of spaces that interact with some of the older folks. And so it could create a situation that like could be really bad. So.
Although with the news, Thompson understands this was the best option to keep the community safe. But for now, people will have to wait another year for the block party to come back. Portsmouth residents could see a $1.5 million tax levy on their ballot in May. WSAZ reports the levy would add more than $300,000 to their resurfacing budget if approved by voters. Additionally, citizens living at a property valued at $100,000 or more would pay an extra $150 a year. City engineer Nathan Prosch says it would take 37 years to get asphalt roads paved at the current pace, but if the levy passes, it will only take about 15 years. Prosch said he has more work to do with the city auditor before the levy could go on the ballot. The city of Nelsonville is at risk of its status as a city, based on data from the 2020 census. Newswatch reporter Ben Schwartz has more on what the community is doing to bring its population count back above 5,000.
Nelsonville city officials gearing up for a marathon effort to recount the city's population.
So we're just going to go out there, we're going to try and recount the entire city, get to 5,000 and turn it into the state and say, we got her done.
With just 15 days to finalize numbers, the goal is to keep Nelsonville a city. According to the 2020 census, Nelsonville's population is 4,612 and would be classified as a village under state rules. Officials worry the change will mean they could lose out on potential grants.
There's no appetite to go to a village. I think everyone has the shared concerns about city services. And I think we all know, as a matter of fact, there are 5,000 people here. We just didn't get them counted at the federal level. And so now the state says it's up to us at the local level to find them, and we're going to try and do that.
The base of operations for the recount is Nelsonville City Hall, where city officials are working to gather counters and where enumerators will work to verify names and addresses of Nelsonville residents in an attempt to bring the city's population back above 5,000. While confidence is high that enough people live in town, though, there is concern about the effectiveness of the upcoming recount campaign.
There's a lot of people who I think are afraid, a lot of people doubling up with families, and maybe their landlords they're not allowed to do that, so they're afraid to let people know how many people are actually living in their homes.
Officials are now pushing residents to help with the counts. Sappington says he's in talks with local companies like Rocky Brands in hopes of hosting an event to raise awareness. Nelsonville's Rotary Club will also host a free dinner Monday evening to round up support. Reporting for Newswatch, I'm Ben Schwartz.
The city has until Monday, October 11th to complete and submit its count to the state. WOUB will continue coverage as the story progresses, and for more updates, tune into Newswatch and go to woub.org. Now here's Aaron Ashley to see if the weather's getting any nicer for us.
Hi Curtis, thank you. My name's Erin Ashley. I'm your lead forecaster bringing you tonight's weather. Right now in Athens it's 71 degrees. I hope you've been able to enjoy the weather today because it's been very sunny, low humidity, beautiful, beautiful weather we've been seeing. Winds have been very calm, but if you've felt that slight breeze, it's from the north direction, anywhere from 0 to 5 miles per hour. Looking across the region, you can see that it stretches anywhere from the low 70s all the way up to 79 degrees towards our west. It's going to be 79 degrees in both Chillicothe and Columbus, and our cooler areas are going to be more towards the east, northeast actually, Cambridge and New Martinsville with 71 degrees. And then also a hot spot towards that bottom region of Ironton, 80 degrees as well. Looking at the week ahead, to expect some warm temperatures this weekend, overnight cool temperatures, but are we going to see some rain as we head into this weekend? I'll throw it back over to Curtis, but I'll talk about that more later.
Thanks, Erin. Maysville local schools in Muskingum County now require students and staff to wear masks. All of the Maysville Board of Education members present Monday night voted yes to the mandate. 209 Maysville students were absent as of last Thursday after being exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19 when masks were not being worn. The Zanesville Times Recorder reports the mandate will be in place through the end of the school year, but will be reevaluated at the end of the 9-week grading period. Other school districts, including Morgan Local Schools and New Lexington City Schools, currently require masking, and Zanesville High School had a temporary mask mandate that ended last week. COVID-19 positivity rates for Ohio University have been consistently declining with vaccination rates as they continue to increase during the fall semester. COVID Operations Officer Dr. Gillian Ice reports a current 2.5% increase in positive COVID-19 cases for campus students compared to a high of 8% rate on September 4th. OU has seen a 67% vaccination rate across all campuses, with the Athens campus at 73.9%. A vaccination clinic at Heritage Hall will be held on October 1st from 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Doses of Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson will be available, and there will be no out-of-pocket costs. The clinic will be available to anyone 12 years old and up, but a parent or guardian must be present for those under 18 years old. To register, go to gettheshot.coronavirus.ohio.gov or by calling 1-833-427-5634. All students, faculty, and staff at Ohio University will soon have to complete a new mandatory training program on hazing. The university announced yesterday it will provide resources to identify and prevent hazing across the university's campuses. Collins Law, an anti-hazing bill named after Colin Wyant, went into effect this summer. Wyant was an Ohio University student who died as a result of fraternity hazing in 2018. Over the summer, OU President Hugh Sherman said the university has been working to develop different programs to address hazing after Wyant's death.
We've also developed training programs. We've put in place a code of conduct that informs students as to the proper choices they should be making. And we also have developed all kinds of programs for the sorority, all the student leaders, to make sure that they understand that it will not be tolerated.
Ohio University students and staff have until the end of October 7th to complete the programs. Democrats rush for support while under a looming budget deadline. And an Ohio school faces backlash for pushing a self-proclaimed neutral agenda. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Cannabis.
People believe it can cure any disease that exists, or it's going to cause the downfall of society.
In a country where people are talking about its medical use, someone gets arrested for cannabis every 58 seconds.
For what conditions is it beneficial, and for what conditions is it harmful?
What does the science tell us? Truth through science. We should know the answers.
The Cannabis Question on Nova.
Coming up on the next Song of the Mountains. Lively performances where old tradition meets new, here on Song of the Mountains.
Next time on the National Parks, as America embraces the automobile, a Nebraska housewife seeks peace in the parks.
At last, I have found the spirit of the woods.
A honeymoon couple searches for adventure in the Grand Canyon. And the fate of the Great Smokies becomes a race with the lumberman's saw. As the National Parks continues.
Friday is coming up quicker than you think. It's week 7 and Gridiron Glory will have all the action from the 740. We'll see Athens take on Megs. Staying in the TVC, it will be an intense battle in Waterford as the Wildcats take on Southern. Want to see where we're headed for the game of the week? Follow us on our social media platforms for all of the latest in Southeast Ohio. So turn the channel to WOUB on Friday at 11:30 p.m. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to Newswatch. With time running out for Congress to avoid a government shutdown, Democrats are now circulating a bill for short-term government funding. Meanwhile, much of President Joe Biden's domestic agenda hangs in the balance amid intra-party disagreements. Neither progressives nor moderates are willing to budge ahead of the vote scheduled for Thursday. Chris Wynn is in Washington with the latest.
Progress on Capitol Hill as congressional leaders work towards averting a government shutdown before funding expires Thursday night.
To prevent a government shutdown, Senate Democrats will be introducing a continuing resolution that keeps the government open until early December.
But with one crisis likely avoided, Democrats now trying to save the president's domestic agenda. Progressives are pushing back over Speaker Nancy Pelosi's plan to hold a House vote Thursday on a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill before striking a deal on a separate $3.5 trillion social safety net package.
We've always said that we support the president's agenda. That agenda is the Build Back Better Act as well as the infrastructure bill. If you just did the infrastructure bill, that's 9% of what the president wanted to get done.
Pressure now being placed on 2 Senate moderates to clarify what it will take to get it done. But so far, they remain tight-lipped.
All we need to do is pass the bipartisan infrastructure bill, sit down and start negotiating in good faith.
The fight over the debt limit also ramping up, with the government set to run out of money to pay its bills by mid-October. Republicans voting earlier in the week to block a bill that would avoid a debt default.
It's the Democrats that want to take on all this debt to pay for all of this massive spending. And it's the Democrats that are going to have to raise the debt ceiling.
House Democrats now introducing a new bill to suspend the debt ceiling, but face an uncertain road ahead. In Washington, I'm Chris Wynn reporting.
The White House says President Joe Biden canceled his trip to Chicago today to stay on work on gaining support for this major bill. The bills include the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation plan and a bipartisan infrastructure deal. On Tuesday, Biden met with Senators Joe Manchin of West Virginia and Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona about the legislation. Those lawmakers have said that the budget measure is too expensive. Biden was originally scheduled to visit Chicago to talk about the COVID-19 vaccine requirements. A Cincinnati school is facing backlash after reporting the removal of a controversial symbol in school. That story still ahead.
We've been very lucky recently with dry and pleasant conditions, but when will our luck run out? I'll talk about this in my full forecast, but for now, let's take a look at stocks of local interest.
Cannabis.
People believe it can cure any disease that exists or it's going to cause the downfall of society.
In a country where people are talking about its medical use, someone gets arrested for cannabis every 58 seconds.
For what conditions is it beneficial, and for what conditions is it harmful?
What does the science tell us? Truth through science. We should know the answers.
The Cannabis Question on Nova.
Looking down from space, satellite cameras tell stories of life on our planet from a completely new perspective, revealing powerful movements of man and nature, breathtaking kaleidoscopes of color, extraordinary patterns and shapes, and the relentless forces of change. Discover the amazing view of our home as you've never seen it before.
Friday is coming up quicker than you think. It's week 7 and Gridiron Glory will have all the action from the 740. We'll see Athens take on Megs. Staying in the TVC, it will be an intense battle in Waterford as the Wildcats take on Southern. Want to see where we're headed for the game of the week? Follow us on our social media platforms for all of the latest in Southeast Ohio. So turn the channel to WOUB on Friday at 11:30 p.m. We'll see you then.
Next time on the National Parks, as America embraces the automobile, a Nebraska housewife seeks peace in the parks.
At last, I have found the spirit of the woods.
A honeymoon couple searches for adventure in the Grand Canyon. And the fate of the Great Smokies becomes a race with the lumberman's saw. As the National Parks continues.
A Cincinnati school board wants to make its classrooms as neutral as possible, so it is forcing teachers to remove images they believe to be controversial. That new initiative alone is causing its own controversy. David Winter has more.
406 students just lost the support that they need from their staff and from their peers, just like that, with one decision.
Members of New Richmond Pride, a pro-LGBTQ group in the small riverside town east of Cincinnati, turned out in force to the school board meeting after teachers were told to remove certain imagery from their classrooms. One teacher was told to remove this quote from Maya Angelou and this banner. Teachers were also told not to distribute this form anymore, asking students how they would like to be identified by he, she, or they.
We as a district, our classrooms, we want them to be as neutral as possible and be focused on the educational and curriculum services that we're providing.
The school board president confirmed that the controversial topic policy had been clarified to teachers. In fact, this email obtained by Local 12 is a directive to remove anything from classrooms that have rainbows on them, noting a politically charged era, the need to take a neutral stance, and continued complaints. But teachers at the school had received over the summer from a sensitivity consultant hired by the district rainbow stickers to put on their name tags that showed they were safe for students to speak with about LGBTQ issues. They were then also told to remove those stickers as well.
So are you implying that by having a rainbow sticker on your name badge, for instance, you're excluding other people?
You potentially could be, depending on what their beliefs and their philosophies are.
People like this parent.
I've got teachers that tell my kids, you can't say these things in school, you can't stand up for your Second Amendment rights.
There was a period of time when I was self-harming, and it was a very difficult time.
But this student, now an LGBTQ sophomore, said she went through a lot of turmoil when she was at New Richmond Middle School.
Would a rainbow and a name tag have made a difference to you?
I feel like it would have, to know that there was a teacher that was a safe space for me to be able to talk to. It would have made me a lot more comfortable and made me feel more accepted.
New Richmond Pride says it wants the school board to reverse its directive, but the board says it does not plan to change anything anytime soon. The LGBTQ+ group says it is planning its next steps and will reach out to other civil rights organizations in Ohio for direction and support.
Looking at the visible satellite image, you can see that over our region right here, there is nothing in the sky. It's generally very beautiful. And that brings us into the weather that's tonight, which is going to be 65 degrees starting at 8 p.m. Skies are going to clear as we head towards midnight. 56 degrees with very calm winds. Humidity will rise, but it will make for a generally very clear night. It's going to be 50 degrees. It's going to be our low. Clear skies, generally pretty uneventful, with winds being very calm. Across the region tonight, you can expect to see temperatures ranging from the upper 40s to the lower 50s, with cold spots being towards our northeast. 48 degrees in Cambridge, 49 degrees in New Martinsville, and it's going to be warmer to our northwest, 53 degrees in Columbus, and then down here south in Ironton, it's going to be 54 degrees. Looking into it a little bit further, you can expect to see this high pressure system right here above our area. That's going to explain those dry conditions we've seen these past couple days, and we're going to see tomorrow as well. Looking at the hour by hour for tomorrow, it's going to be very chilly starting off. It's going to be 50 degrees at 8 in the morning with partly cloudy skies, but we're going to warm very quickly as we head towards the lunchtime hour. 12 p.m. is going to be 71 degrees, but it's going to be a very pleasant day for your Thursday. Tomorrow is going to be a high of 75 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Humidity is going to be pretty low, but with temperatures being pretty mild, it'll be a little bit warmer than what we would typically like to our start of fall. It's going to be, our winds are going to be from the north direction at 0 to 5 miles per hour. Across the region tomorrow, you can expect to experience some pretty mild temperatures across the majority of our region, with warmer areas being towards our south as expected. It's going to be 79 degrees in Jackson, Ironton, and Ripley. And then towards our northeast, you're going to see some chillier temperatures. It's going to be 73 degrees in New Martinsville as well as Cambridge. The surface features analysis for tomorrow, you can see there's nothing really going on right here in our area. Going to make for a pretty pleasant day, but right here we're looking at this stationary front's going to be the cause for some possible weekend rain. Thursday, tomorrow is going to be 75 degrees, and then it's going to warm up a little tiny bit, 77 degrees on Friday. That chance for rain will show up on Saturday night. It's going to be 40% chance of rain on Saturday night, with the high temperature being 80 degrees that day. On Sunday, you're going to see that chance for rain rise all the way up to 60%, and it's going to linger into Monday as well. As we head into next week, those temperatures are going to drop as well as that chance for rain. I'll throw it over to Jack with sports.
Good evening, I'm Jack Demler. The Ohio Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2020 has just been announced. Find out who will have their name etched in the Ohio history books when Newswatch returns. But first, be sure to stay tuned to WOUB, as here's a look at what's coming up on your public television station.
Next time on the National Parks, as America embraces the automobile, a Nebraska housewife seeks peace in the parks.
At last, I have found the spirit of the woods.
A honeymoon couple searches for adventure in the Grand Canyon. And the fate of the Great Smokies becomes a race with the lumberman's saw. As the National Parks continues.
Friday is coming up quicker than you think. It's week 7 and Gridiron Glory will have all the action from the 740. We'll see Athens take on Megs. Staying in the TVC, it will be an intense battle in Waterford as the Wildcats take on Southern. Want to see where we're headed for the game of the week? Follow us on our social media platforms for all of the latest in Southeast Ohio. So turn the channel to WOUB on Friday at 11:30 p.m. We'll see you then.
Coming up on the next Song of the Mountains. Lively performances where old tradition meets new, here on Song of the Mountains.
Cannabis.
People believe it can cure any disease that exists, or it's going to cause the downfall of society.
In a country where people are talking about its medical use, someone gets arrested for cannabis every 58 seconds.
For what conditions is it beneficial, and for what conditions is it harmful?
What does the science tell us? Truth through science. We should know the answers.
The Cannabis Question on Nova.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm Jack Demler. The Ohio Athletic Hall of Fame has just been announced today, the class of 2020. This class includes current volleyball head coach Jeff Carlston, former Bobcat swimming and diving teammate Jennifer Scholl, and the 1970 Bobcat baseball team that made it to the College World Series. The induction ceremony is scheduled for the weekend of October 9th and 10th. The Ohio volleyball team will make the trip to Muncie, Indiana to take on the Ball State Cardinals. The Bobcats are 1-11 on the season and 1-1 in conference play after splitting 2 matches with Toledo over the weekend. The Cardinals are 11-3 on the year and 1-1 in MAC play after they split 2 matches against Kent State. The Bobcats take on the Cardinals tomorrow at 6:30 and again on Friday. The Ohio soccer team is also taken on the road as they will look to extend a win streak. The Bobcats are experiencing their hottest start since the 2019 season with a 6-3 overall record and 2-0 record in MAC play. Ohio has momentum after consecutive wins against Buffalo and Akron. They'll look to keep it going tomorrow against Bowling Green. The Falcons are struggling this year with a 2-5-2 overall record with a 1-1 record in MAC play. Bowling Green dropped its last contest to Northern Illinois 2-1. The Bobcats may want some retribution for last year after their Falcons took over the last 2 matchups they had. I've got one quick question for you. Are you ready for some action? After starting off with a rough non-conference schedule, the Ohio Bobcats are still searching for their first victory as they travel on to take Akron in the first game of MAC play. This is the first time the Bobcats started the year 0-4 since the 2008 season. Ohio will fight for a victory against the Zips, who are 1-3 to start the season. Akron has only won 2 games since the 2019 season, where they finished 0-12. Head coach Tim Albin says he's ready for a fresh start as conference play begins.
Applaud them for their effort. Don't get me wrong. They've played their tails off. They know that we've had some tough breaks, but the guys also know, to your point, it's conference time, and we are 0-0. And so we've got a great opportunity against Akron.
Kickoff for that game is scheduled for Saturday at 3:30. For live game updates and post-game recap, be sure to follow Bobcat Showcase on Twitter and Facebook and check out our website at woub.org. Jumping to the NFL, the Cincinnati Bengals return to the Queen City for tomorrow's primetime game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This matchup returns the last 2 number 1 draft picks, Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. They're familiar with each other from their college days. The two were matched up in the 2020 NCAA National Championship, where Burrow led the LSU Tigers to a 42-25 victory over Clemson. Burrow and the Bengals are coming off an impressive 24-10 victory against division foe, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Burrow finished that game with 172 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. Kickoff for tomorrow night's game is set for 8:20 and can be watched on the NFL Network. I'm Jack Demler, and that does it for sports. Back to you, Curtis.
Thanks, Jack. The Halloween season is just a month away, and it looks like more parents are open to trick-or-treating this year. In a new poll published Tuesday, the survey found parents are seeing less risk having their children walk around the neighborhood to trick-or-treat this year. 68% of them, when asked, said they see little to no risk in trick-or-treating. That's 17% more than those who were willing to take part in the Halloween tradition last year. 2020 saw communities across the country cancel trick-or-treating due to the pandemic. The director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has said children should be able to safely trick-or-treat this year in small groups. Now let's kick it over to Erin for a final look at your weather.
Thank you, Curtis. Athens tomorrow are going to reach a high of 75 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Humidity is going to be pretty low, but temperatures will be relatively mild. Generally, it's going to be a beautiful day like it has been pretty recently. Across the region tomorrow, you can expect to see some very similar temperatures ranging from the low 70s all the way to the upper 70s. 79 degrees in Jackson, Ironton, and Ripley, and cooler areas to our northeast as well. Looking at the week ahead, you might see a chance for rain this weekend on Saturday night into Sunday morning. I'll throw it back to Curtis to wrap up.
Thanks, Erin. And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to PBS NewsHour up next. And remember, you can get all the content you ever need at woub.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Dean Heating and Cooling, keeping homes cool all summer with Tempstar. Dean Heating and Cooling provides HVAC service and installation in the Athens area, featuring Tempstar quality you can feel.